This story is a work of fiction, but it is based on the true stories of the brave men and women of Grove Park in Chiswick who lived through World War I.
Similar stories can be told about any community in Great Britain who lived through that dreadful war. But our story focuses on the Gidner family, who run a grocery shop in Gordon Road.
The Gidners lived behind the shop, and here they are, at home on the 4th of August, 1914. Mr. and Mrs. Gidner and two of their sons, Julian and Frank.
What, Tommy? Tom doesn't need waiting on. He's part of the family, isn't he?
Well, I have been best friends with your Jeff since we were at school together.
And now he's best friends with me.
Constance, look after your guests properly. All this women's rights stuff is going to your head.
Come and sit next to me, Tom. You can have Bob's seat.
Where is Bob, Mrs. Gidner?
Bob? Oh, Bob. You know Bob, always looking for adventure. He's with the Scouts at the moment on an expedition to Belgium, having a whale at the time, I imagine.
Yes, our Bob loves to be active, unlike his twin brother here. They couldn't be more different.
So how's Mrs. Pankhurst getting on with the great campaign then? Tom, you better tell your dad to watch out. There'll be a lady in the pulpit at St. Michael's soon.
Well, I don't see what would be so very wrong with St. Michael's having a lady vicar.
Oh, honestly, Constance. Tom, I'm just glad that she's got you to be a good friend to her and keep an eye on her.
For heaven's sake, Mother, I don't need Tom to look after me.
So, Mr. Gidner, how is business in the grocery shop?
Good, thank you, Tom. Trade couldn't be better, really. Grove Park's growing fast and business is thriving. They seem to be putting up new houses every day.
Mr. and Mrs. Gidner, good afternoon.
Father Lawrence.
Sorry to intrude.
Come and join us, Father.
No. Please do sit down. I just came to find my son, Tom, to share the news.
What news?
The Germans, my boy. The Germans. They've gone and invaded Belgium.
What?
Yes, it's true. The Germans have invaded Belgium, and you know what that means. I'm afraid that war is imminent.
Belgium?
Yes, Belgium.
Don't worry, Mother. Bob will be fine. Bobby's always fine.
Yes, don't worry, Mrs. Gidner. It's nothing to be concerned about. No, Bob will be quite safe with the Scouts, and I'm sure he will return very soon.
Of course, Mrs. G, of course.
And our soldiers, well, they will deal with those meddlesome Germans. Lots of our young men will enlist straight away. It'll be an honour to serve for king and country. I hope you will sign up, Tom.
And I hope you will too, Julian, and our Geoffrey. I only wish I were young enough to serve king and country myself.
To king and country.
King and country.
To king and country.
It all got off to a bad start.
There was the defeat at Mons, where our boys fought so bravely.
And then those sausage eaters invaded France, and the Turks joined them.
And then there were the Zeppelins too. Do you remember them?
Of course I remember them, and those bloody U-boats too. We'll never forget how they sank the Lusitania, and all those men lost at sea.
And then there was Gallipoli. Our men fought so hard.
But the Turks just slaughtered them.
There was a lot of bad news, but we kept our spirits up. We knew that our men had the courage to keep fighting. They wouldn't give in, and we didn't want them to.
And now, here we are at the Gidner's grocery shop.
It is August 1950.
So, Mr. Gidner, how are your boys getting on?
Well, Julian and our Geoffrey are both doing a bit in France, as you know. And young Rob, the crafty little devil, he's got himself into the Royal Naval Air Force.
Really? What
Yeah.
a lucky lad he is. And still only 52, same as my little boy.
Yes, he's still a young un, but he's training to be an observer in the aeroplanes. I don't mind saying I feel right proud of him. All three of them.
Oh, I'm sure you do, Mr. G. I'm sure you do. I only wish my boy was out there. It would be right character forming, this war.
Well, I think so.
Did you read Father Lawrence's, what he wrote in the parish magazine this week? Here it is. The regular exercise and open air in France will do our boys a power of good. And they will come home in far better health than they went out.
Father Lawrence is spot on. And his sons, Wilfred and Tom, are both out in France too.
What was that about Tom? Any news? Oh, will they be home soon? I thought this war was supposed to be over months ago.
You should be proud of you, Tom, and your brothers too.
Well, I am. I just wish that I could serve too.
Don't be ridiculous, child. What can a woman do to help in a war?
You just wait. In no time they'll be begging us women to help. I mean, who's going to make all the shells and bullets if all the men are fighting overseas?
She's right, Mr. G. My husband says they are dead short of munitions at the front.
Mr. G, exciting news.
What is it? What is it?
It's a letter. It's from our Bob.
What's it say?
Well, he says he's been made petty officer. Can you believe it? Our little Bob, only 15, and petty officer.
Oh, Mrs. G, you must be so proud. I wish my boy would show a bit of mettle and enlist.
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. B. If Mr. Kitchener has his way, your boy won't have a choice soon. He will have to enlist. They'll be bringing in conscription any time now.
Quite right too. It's only right that everyone should do their bit.
Yes, and I hear Father Lawrence himself is going out to France soon. He's going to be an army chaplain. How brave and noble is that?
Really? Well, that will leave you in charge of St. Michael's, Mr. Gidner. What with you being a church warden and all?
Oh, Mrs. Spencer, whatever's the matter? Sit down. Can I get you some tea?
It's from the War Office, Mrs. Gidner. We got a letter from the War Office.
What does it say?
No, it's a form. The B10482.
What does it say?
It's my son. It's my son.
What's happened, dear? What's happened?
He's dead, Mrs. G. Dead. Killed in action.
What?
Oh, dead. Wilfred. Killed in action. At a place that I can't make it out.
I think it says Gallipoli.
Our troops had to withdraw from those Turks at Gallipoli in the end.
And conscription did finally come in. That which was a good thing. It was only right and fair that every man, whoever was fit enough, should fight.
There was Verdun and Jutland, but that was as nothing compared with the horror that was to come.
You mean the Somme?
We all lost someone in that battle. A son, a brother, a father.
Here we are at St. Michael's Church. It is July 1916.
The Sunday morning service is just coming to a close.
The memorial service this week is on Friday at 11. We'll be remembering before God our brave sons, Philip Swale, Thomas Keane, and Geoffrey Gidner. And let us pray that the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost be upon us and remain with us forever. Amen.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Spencer. But things are far worse for the others. I hear the Fosters have lost all 4 of their boys.
Yes, that was truly dreadful. I just pray Lawrence and our Tom come home safe and sound. And your Julian and Bob too, of course. Have you heard any news about them?
Julian's just been commissioned.
Oh, an officer.
Yes, he must be doing well.
And young Bob.
I'm hoping, I'm praying, Mrs. Spencer, that he'll be discharged. I mean, he's still only 16.
Thank the Lord your mother has still got you.
Oh, I'm sure Bob will be back home soon, Mother. You've sent out his birth certificate. As soon as they know that he's underage, they'll have to discharge him. They have to.
I know. Mrs. Spencer, I'm so proud of Bob, I really am. I just don't think he should be at the front. I'm sure there must be something else he could do. Something here, something useful.
Well, he could help me in the factory. My hands have been completely ruined making all those shells.
I thought you liberated ladies didn't worry about any of that.
You're right, Father. How can I complain about the state of my hands when Tom and my brothers are risking their lives, dying in the mud, their arms and legs blown off?
Constance!
Oh, well, it's true! Didn't you see the latest newsreel?
We have to support our boys. The war has to be won, whatever it takes.
Whatever?
Dad's right, Connie. Whatever.
19,000 dead, 60,000 injured on the first day of the Somme. And that was just the British.
Nearly 500,000 of our men killed by the end of it, in just that one battle.
And what about the French? Hundreds of thousands of them died too.
And the Germans.
It is now New Year's Eve, 1916,
And we are back at the Gidler's home.
I'm going to bed.
But we've always started up to see in the new year.
Oh, what's the point? This dreadful, pointless war just keeps going on and on. What's there to look forward to?
Constance, don't. You make it sound as if Jeff died for nothing.
Sorry.
Shall we play a game?
No, son, not now.
Mother, if you keep reading that letter, it will wear out.
It's all I have of him.
Read it, Mum. Read it. I'd like to think of Jeff writing it the night before they went over the top.
Frank.
All right, Mum. Read it to us.
I am writing, dear Mother, I am writing this letter today, as tomorrow we go over the top, and this may be the last letter I send to you. So if you're reading this letter, this means that I will have given my life in service to my king and country. I know you will be sad, but please do not think that in any way I have not done this willingly. I consider it an honour and a duty to be called by God to offer my life in this way, to do my little bit in the cause of civilization. I received Holy Communion yesterday with many other men, and the service was very special, and we know that God is with us. We placed our souls and bodies in God's keeping, and should it be God's will to call us away, we are prepared to go. I wish I had more time to write, but time presses. Give my fondest love to my dear and noble sister Constance. I hope that she gets her precious vote in the end. And to young Frank, and when you see them next, to Julian and Bob, and to my dear friend Tom, too. I fear I must close now. Fondest love to all those I love so much, but most especially to yourselves.
Don't cry, Mum. I remain your devoted son, Geoffrey.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, Frank, come on, it's off to bed.
I'm headed for bed too. Are you coming up, Mr. G?
You go up, Father. I'll help Mum to tidy up.
Thanks.
It's all right, Constance. You go up too. I just want to stay here a while.
Mother, it's not good to keep reading that letter over and over again.
I know. I just want to finish my letter to Bob, that's all. My darling boy, my dearest Bob, now that you're back in camp again, what are you doing about your discharge? I am anxious to know that you're coming home soon. It's not right that you should still be fighting when you're only 16. Have you got the birth certificate that I sent you months ago? You must use this to ask for your discharge straight away. I thought they would discharge you directly they saw it. In any case, you have done your bit, really you have. So you can surely wait now until you're 18. You might be able to do some other useful work until then, perhaps with the Red Cross. And at the same time, get yourself strong and stay safe. With dearest love, and God bless, and grant you a happy new year. Your ever-loving mother. My darling boy, please, Lord, not my darling boy.
It was the Americans coming in 1917. We'd never have won without them.
Of course we would. Our boys would have fought on until there wasn't a single man standing.
I believe it was our tanks that really made the difference.
It is now March 1918.
And we're now going to go back to the Gidner's grocery shop.
They're hungry. There's hardly anything to eat. Those U-boats are starving us to death.
Don't be so dramatic, Constance. Now they brought in these new ration books, things will get better. Although I hope people are supposed to survive on 4 ounces of bacon and butter and 4 rations of bacon a week, I don't know.
I've put a loaf under the table for Mrs. M. Her 6 children are all in rags and not a pair of boots between the lot of them.
Oh, for heaven's sake, woman, will you leave that boy alone? He's 18 now, he's the same age as Bob, he's a man.
I know, and I know there's nothing I can do about it. Like Bob, he will...
Yes, Mum. I have to sign up now. I'm 18. I have to do my duty.
Oh, do shut up, Frank.
But I do. Just like Jeff and Julian and Bob and all the others. I do, don't I?
No, you don't.
What?
What?
Constance and I have a plan.
Oh, what is it? We're going to fight it, Mother. We're going to go to tribunal. They can't call up Frank. You see, someone has to take care of this shop. Father can't cope and, well, I'm but a poor, feeble young woman.
But do you really think there's a chance?
Yes, I've studied all the paperwork and there are loads of other cases. And I know exactly the arguments that Father has to make. You know, I'd make a pretty good lawyer if I do say so myself.
Connie, women will never be lawyers. It's one thing digging the allotment and making shells, but women will never get to be lawyers.
That's enough cheek out of you, my son. You should be proud of your sister. And thankful she might be saving your skin.
Oh, Mrs. Gidner, I'm so relieved to hear about your boy.
My boy? Yes, your boy. Being discharged at last, it must be such a relief to have him back. You must be so proud.
Oh, yes. My son, Julian. Yes. It's good to have him home. To have him home, safe and sound. So, who's next?
In 2014, people will remember them. That is why we have all given so generously to raise the money for this beautiful memorial window. And so it is my great privilege, dearly beloved, to bless and to consecrate this window as a thank offering for victory and many mercies vouchsafed between 1914 and 1919. And in grateful memory of the men of this congregation and parish who served their country, especially before God, the 33 men dearest to us who gave their lives, and whose names are Wilfred Spencer, Edward Burgess, Stan Foster, Harold Foster, Robert Foster, Horace Foster, Ernest Brown, Henry Arundel, Stanley Turner, Philip Spencer, Thomas Keane, Gordon Cunningham, Thomas Cunningham, Frank Patterson, Charles Mortimer, Arnold Sully, Kenneth Jones, Richard Archer, Samuel Archer, Thomas Godfrey, Christopher Godfrey, Peter Godfrey, Gordon Chamberlain, Morris Woodman, John Jeffers, Ivor Pagozzi, Ivor Mortimer, Clarence Mansfield, Leslie Manning, Anthony Manning, Alfred King, Jeffrey Gidner, and Bob.
We'd better take him outside, dear.
That was terrible. Terrible. Just hearing all those names. All those lives lost. And our Jeffrey and our Bob, too.
I'm glad the memorial window, though. It feels a right and fitting thing to do. And they've spared no expense. I just hope and pray that people don't forget, never forget, the sacrifice that those men made.
They won't, Mother. They won't. And let's just hope and pray that that really was the war to end all wars. And you never have to go to war. My darling boy.
My darling boy.